Thank you to HelloFresh, sponsor portion of this video. So 2026 is shaping up to be Apple's biggest year ever. We're getting a foldable iPhone, smarter Siri powered by Google, a cheaper MacBook, maybe new glasses, and a brand new CEO? So after nearly 15 years, multiple sources are corroborating that Tim Cook is getting ready to step away from Apple, either this year or next year. And the future of everything will be in the hands of this guy. Meet John Ternus. The stakes here are insane because the future of Apple, I think, is about to change in one of two ways. Either a new CEO ushers in Apple's greatest era ever with some really incredible products, or it could be the beginning of something not so great. It might be the moment we look back on a few years from now as the decision that broke Apple to its core, or broke the other way. But first I want to tell you a story that Apple doesn't want you to hear. 18 years and about 5,000 videos ago, I uploaded my very first video on this channel. Hello everybody, my name is John. I'm a recent Mac switcher. I brought it home, filmed an unboxing in my apartment, and didn't think much about it at that time. But that video launched my career into tech YouTube. And I've got a soft spot for Apple because of it. I've always have. But I've also been public enough about their problems. I ended up on Apple's PR blacklist. I hope Apple succeeds. I generally want to see their products become great, which brings me to the heir apparent, John Ternus. He's been with Apple since 2001, and if you've held any Apple product in the last decade, Ternus probably had a hand in building it. He's mostly been on the engineering side of things, and there's a story about him that tells most of what you need to know. So one of his first projects at Apple was a cinema display, and he was visiting a supplier late at night inspecting screws with a magnifying glass. Seems like a very Steve Jobs type thing. The spec called for 25 grooves in the screw head on the back panel. The supplier had made them with 35. Ternus pushed back. He later said that he stepped back and thought, like, what am I doing? Is this normal? Then he decided it might not be normal, but it was right. Because if you're going to spend months building something, you should care about every detail, even the ones that no one will ever see. And that's the guy who's about to run Apple, which either means things are going to be very good or very bad. Ternus now runs Apple's hardware and design teams. He's basically in the number 2 position, and insiders say the transition could begin as early as this year. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has said it's, quote, crystal clear that Ternus is a leading CEO candidate. That means for the first time in nearly 2 decades, Apple gets a new CEO. He's about to inherit a pile of problems with the whole world watching his every move. All right, so new location. Speaking about figuring out what's coming next, I do want to talk about dinner, specifically the fact that our house has 0 planned for dinners most night. 3 kids, baseball, dance, I'm coaching. By the time 5:30 hits, we don't know what we're doing. This video sponsor, HelloFresh, has completely snapped us out of it. Ton of options for every type of food that you want. We've been leaning hard into fish and veggie options lately. Blackened sea bass and cauliflower tacos, and my kids actually tried. Both were generally good. They have over 100 recipes to pick from every week, so you're not rotating the same, like, 3 meals. Everything shows up fresh. My wife loved the sea bass. We ordered that again. The cauliflower tacos were a surprise too. The flexibility is what really sells it though. You can skip weeks if you want to. You can swap meals. You can pause it whenever. Compared it to what we were spending on takeout versus HelloFresh, it's not close. It just takes dinner off the list. We don't worry about it anymore. And we're eating better than we ever did before. If you want to check it out, for 10 free meals plus free shipping, the free meals apply as a discount on the first new box for returning or new subscribers only. It will vary by plan. So sign up today, click the link below, or again, use my code RettingerFM at HelloFresh.com. I think Ternus has 3 big problems to solve, and he gets 1 shot at each. So start with Siri. Tim Cook has been the CEO for almost the entire lifespan of this product and is still something that is not reliable. I'm not going to go through a list of things it can't do. We all know that. We've all made the jokes, but it's been the butt of jokes for nearly 15 years. That's the product. And it's wild that a company as big as Apple with virtually unlimited resources have been unable to fix this disastrous smart assistant. Meanwhile, ChatGPT showed up, and in 18 months, it was writing code, passing the bar exam, completely changing the game. And I know there are privacy concerns of how the information is gathered, but what it did in that short amount of time was staggering. 15 years versus 18 months. And I don't think you can really explain that away. Apple Intelligence was supposed to be the answer, and it's already becoming a punchline. The new Siri keeps getting delayed, summarization is inconsistent, and the stuff that actually works feels like it's catching up to where Google and OpenAI were years ago. And look, I carry an Android phone alongside my iPhone. I switch back and forth all the time. The gap between Google's AI and Apple's is not even close. It is embarrassingly far apart. But I guess credit to Apple for finally admitting they need help and signing a multi-year deal with Google to have Gemini power the next generation of Apple Intelligence and Siri. But the upgraded Siri, not expected until the spring at the earliest. And just like every AI promise Apple's made, it's been delayed multiple times. Then there's Vision Pro, the product that was supposed to usher in the next era of sort of Apple that went beyond the iPhone. And by most metrics, it is a spectacular flop. And don't get me wrong, the tech is impressive. I was blown away like everybody the first time I put it on. Then I used it 5-6 times. I got a zit on my face and my kids thought it was cool for 20 minutes. And eventually I just returned it. I keep almost every bit of tech I have. I have drawers full of phones from decades ago, but I could not justify keeping a $3,500 headset without a killer use case. And if I can't find a reason to hold on to it, who's buying it? Apple shipped roughly just under 400,000 units in its first year of production, that it was halted in early 2025, and IDC estimated just 45,000 units shipped last quarter. Apple sells more iPhones in a single day than all Vision Pros combined. Vision Pro failed. Not the hardware, but the vision. No killer app, no clear use case, just impressive technology looking for a reason to exist at a price that's very hard to justify. Apple already quietly shifted engineering resources away from the next Vision Pro and towards smart glasses instead. Ternus has to figure out whether spatial computing is actually Apple's future or just an expensive science project. These are the messes. They're embarrassing, but definitely fixable. That brings us to the second problem, the iPhone. This is still the whole company, about 50% of revenue, and it's basically been the same phone for a decade. Better cameras, faster chip, nicer screens, but fundamentally the same rectangle since 2017 when we got the iPhone 10. I review phones for a living. I set up new iPhones every year. At this point, I do my next iPhone unboxing video with my eyes closed because nothing changes. It's the same, oh cool, camera's a little better moment. And that's where we are. For years, that was fine. People upgraded anyways. But upgrade cycles are stretching, sales are slipping, and the first time competitors aren't just catching up. Apple's losing its edge. Samsung's had foldables for 7 years. Google's AI features are generations ahead. Seems like every other company is trying to take sort of an innovative approach to the modern smartphone, while Apple is essentially doing the same thing. While the foldable iPhone is expected in September as part of the iPhone 18 lineup, I think it has to be great. Not good, not Apple's first attempt. I mean great. Because Apple doesn't get credit for being first, but they will get credit for being best. And at a rumored price point of between $2,000 and $2,500, this cannot just be a novelty item. It has to have a use case. But beyond the foldable, Ternus has to answer a harder question. What's the iPhone strategy going forward? Because right now it feels like Apple is throwing stuff at a wall. There's an Air, there's an E, there's a Fold, there's subscription models. Under Tim Cook, the iPhone saw huge growth, but slow innovation. And the competition caught up and I think lapped them in a lot of ways. Ternus needs to pick a lane and commit to it. Because if the iPhone stumbles, Apple stumbles. There's no service business without it. No wearable ecosystem, no leverage with developers. The iPhone isn't just a product, it's the foundation that Apple's house sits on. And that leads to the third and biggest problem. To answer the question Tim Cook never did. What is Apple beyond the iPhone? And this is kind of an existential one. Think about this one a lot. I've been covering tech a long time, enough time to sort of watch this play out before. Going back to Steve Jobs, he gave us the Mac, the iPod, the iPhone. Each one defined an era. Tim Cook gave us Apple Watch, AirPods, and the absolute best chip transition in computing history with Apple Silicon. All wins, but none were new categories that changed how we live the way the iPhone did. Tim Cook still is a masterful operator and built a business of Apple to be bigger and better than many could have ever imagined. And in fact, the stock price has reflected it. If you base a CEO's success just on share price, Tim Cook might be the best CEO in history. But Apple did pay a price for that share increase. The creative soul of the company kind of walked out the door with Johnny Ive in 2019, followed by most of the design team a few years later. And many people inside Apple blamed Tim Cook's focus on margins over design. And that's bigger than losing just one guy. When Ive left, the culture seems to have left with him, and Apple desperately needs some of that creative DNA back. And then there's Tim Cook's track record when it comes to sort of swinging for the fences. Apple TV Plus was supposed to make them a streaming giant. They spent billions on content. A lot of it's very good, and it's still an afterthought compared to Netflix. Tried to get Anthropic to power Siri before going with Google, but couldn't agree on a price, so that fell apart. And then the Apple Car, the big moonshot thing, was going to prove Apple could think beyond the iPhone. A decade of work, billions of dollars, thousands of engineers at its peak, and gone. Just the whole thing just killed. And you start to see a pattern here. Apple keeps half committing to these huge swings, and they either sort of bail or just settle for less. And it raises the scariest questions of all. Can Apple still invent something new? Can they commit to a vision and actually see it all the way through? Or they become so big, so risk averse, so obsessed with protecting what they actually have, they've forgotten how to build what's next. And that's the questions, and those are the big ones that Ternus is going to have to answer. Not with words or speeches, but with products, with bets that might actually fail. And here's what makes this moment, I think, so fascinating. Apple has almost never been here before. Only two CEOs have really defined the company, Jobs and Cook. Every previous transition was chaos. You had Jobs pushed out, Jobs coming back to a dying company, Jobs handing the keys to Cook weeks before he died. This is the first time Apple gets to do a planned, peaceful handoff at its peak of its power. And there should be a massive advantage. But it's also the most dangerous position to be in, because the risk when you're on top isn't that you make a huge mistake, it's that you get very comfortable. It's that you play it safe, and you iterate when you should be inventing. So it comes down to three things. Can Ternus fix the embarrassments? Can he protect the iPhone? And can he answer the question Tim Cook never did? We're about to find out if he cares about screw grooves or stock prices. No pressure, right? Just one of the most valuable companies in history, and we're all waiting to see what he's made of.